Welcome to the 24K Life Podcast. I am your host, Derick Gant, and we have our first dynamic duo. You know, these two are all over helping you transform, elevate, and live your best life. Now, I want to ask that you will like, share, and subscribe to the 24K Life Podcast channel. And with that, we can help share and help people elevate. So, you know, you saw it on the cover. They wrote an amazing book. And with that, we're going to introduce and let each one introduce themselves. We're going to pop right off with Michael. Michael, how are you? We have Marcey. Marcey, how are you? How are you two doing today?
Great. I'm so happy to be here. This is a real privilege to be on your show. So we're looking forward to sharing some great content with your listeners today.
Well, I am equally excited and happy to have you on and to share your book, The Inside Guide, and your website, the loveguidesus.us. Isn't that dope? Loveguides.us. I love it. I saw it before, but it just catches you off guard. So before we jump into the book, this is not about me, but because I've written a book and I know how difficult that process was for me, before we jump into the transformational information and your personal expertise, share with me how you went about co-authoring this book.
Okay, well, I'll start, and then maybe Marcey can kind of add some after that. So I always knew I wanted to write a book, but writing was always a bit of a challenge for me. So I knew I needed a bit of a muse or someone to kind of bounce off of and to be able to dialogue with. So we got an app called Otter, and we started transcribing our conversations after Marcey agreed to do the book. And we took those conversations and we just started editing them. We had a pretty extensive outline, and we just started doing each week conversations and then editing and fitting into the outline. And so through that process, we averaged about 15 written pages a week, and we just did it at a slow and steady pace. So we got the book done in a total, like from concept to publish in 2 years, which
wow,
it's a long time, but sometimes it's not a long time when you're working on a project of that magnitude. So,
right.
But the whole point, was really amazing about the process is Marcey and I's relationship and our collaboration and how we work together. And that made the process really enjoyable. So we had a lot of fun writing the book, which was
awesome. Is there a better way to do a project than to have fun while you're doing it?
Yeah.
That's our mantra. And that's, our mantra really is ease and flow. And so it's funny when the way this all started was, I was a client of Michael's and had some amazing life changes and experiences and just really upgrades in my life. I figured out where, what was kind of missing for me. And then after working with him for a couple of years, all of a sudden I get this phone call and he asked, "Hey, would you be interested in writing a book with me?" And immediately I jumped in and said yes, but I've never written a book. I have no experience in publishing. I have a finance background. And so we just kind of navigated our way through. And the good thing is that when you're writing a book like this, you really have to live the material as you're writing it. So not only did we have this great exchange while we were writing the book and this great creative collaboration, I also was continuing my own transformation as we hit from topic to topic.
Excellent.
So it was an amazing experience.
Oh, I love it. I love to hear that. So let me ask you this. I didn't go over your bios, but you just got finished saying that you were in finance and Michael has a BS in engineering. So you guys, and I have a degree in finance. I know how I got to the personal development and trying to figure out my journey and leveling up. But how did you two, an engineer by education, and I know you're also a master practitioner of Neuro Linguistics programming, NLP for the shorter term, most people would recognize, as well as a master martial art instructor. But how did you get the structure of engineering and finance into this amazing transformational information that you pulled together in your book, The Inside Guide?
Well, I got my degree in my 20s, you're exploring a lot of everything the world has to offer. And so I was pretty driven to be successful. I went to school in the Silicon Valley in California. And so it was the kind of natural progression. I had a math aptitude. But I got into my late 20s and I really wasn't happy with my choice. And I had done all this work. And so I hit a crisis point in my late 20s, approaching 30, where I didn't want to be doing what I was doing. Mm-hmm. And so I pretty much left everything, started over. And I had a powerful experience around age 30 that, we could call a spiritual experience, but it really opened me up to another level of consciousness in myself. And that started me on a path of learning. And I really started working. I first started working as a bodyworker, practitioner, and then I got into the martial arts and all the time doing meditation. So it was this progression of my own journey and just my own healing process that step by step got me into the work. And then as I progressed in my own journey, I really wanted to work with other people and be effective and get as many tools that I could master to really be able to get people the results they're looking for. And so that just came with time and practice. And I've been at this about 25 years, almost pushing 30 years now. And so it's really my life purpose. And so it just became an unfolding. And sometimes these early things we start out with aren't necessarily the path we're meant to take in life.
Amen to that. Amen to that. So how about you, Marcey? You are in finance, but you have a spiritual side that has been awakened. I'm not going to lie, when Michael was talking, you have to be serious so much of the day and of your life that, I take every advantage to be a little silly. But when Michael was talking about his situation, I just saw Saul riding on his horse and this beam of light knocking him off of his go-kart or something. And that was the beginning of his spiritual awakening journey. So I'm sure it didn't happen that way, but the imagery is powerful, right? When you have an experience that really jolts you into a consciousness that this isn't it, there's more. So anyway, back to you, Marcey. So tell us about your transition to discover more about your personal journey.
Yeah, thanks, Derick. So I kind of like Michael through my life have been kind of learning different tools and things to improve myself. So whether it was in business through certain certifications or learning how to be, a stronger project manager, learning all the tools that could help me succeed. And I kept learning and learning and learning, but I just always felt like there was something missing. Mm-hmm. Like from the outside, I'm married, family, job, volunteering. It looked like I was kind of killing it on the outside, but on the inside, I just still felt a level of unhappiness. And I just always felt like something was missing. And so I kept looking for something outside to fill that, whether it was additional training, whether it was, just a vacation, retreats. So I kept searching for what was missing. And it wasn't until I was referred to Michael about 5.5 years ago. And it was really our first time working one-on-one together when I said, gosh, we're meeting and it looks like from the outside, like everything is good, but like, I don't know what's broken. And he just really reset immediately a point for me that nothing is broken. And I'm not going to find out what I'm looking for outside of myself. And that's when he really turned and helped me look inside. And it's not just inside taking quiet time. It's really finding out who I was, what my tools and talents were, and then just exploding and living from that place. And he's like, life doesn't have to be so hard. You don't have to keep searching. You already got it. And I told him, I said, I spent thousands of dollars on courses and retreats and meditations. And it's like, oh, I've had the answer inside, like, Wizard of Oz. It's right. Like the answer was always here. So that's been so powerful. And then from there, everything has exploded from there for me, including being able to write a book.
Excellent. So Marcey, what's your husband's name?
Cliff.
Cliff. So Cliff was like, hey, baby, when do you talk to Michael next? Because every time you talk to Michael, life is good.
Right? You're not nagging me as much.
Life is good when you talk to, when's your next meeting?
Yeah.
Well, Cliff and I are very close too, and I've worked with Cliff, and it really is, we're all like family. So there's a joke, I'm like her second husband. So
right.
Hey, as long as it makes the first husband better, that works.
Absolutely.
Like Cliff's been an amazing support through our process, and just supporting Marcey and just so encouraging every step of the way. And he's really just one of our best advocates for the work too. So he's out there.
So tell me, and I want to talk about the NLP, but not yet. So tell me, so the people listening have some better position on the process. So tell me, Marcey got referred to you, you take the call, you guys connect, you have a first couple meetings, you tell her what you told her, hey, all your answers are inside of you, and you tell her, or she figures out, look, I really have to do some work. So this is past meditation. What, not exactly, but in the general sense, what tools, what techniques, what are you telling her to do? Is she journaling? Is she going through a series of assessments? What's your process from a big picture? I'm not telling you to give away the secret sauce.
Well, it's a conversational format mostly. So through NLP is described as hypnosis in a waking state. So we're really accessing unconscious material that is holding us back. And so we're able through NLP to kind of open up the interior life and see how people are putting their reality, their experience together, and then kind of metaphorically move the wires around. So we're able to shift our experience. So the real beauty in it is a lot of it, when we get a shift at the unconscious level, we don't have to always remember to act differently in the world or to show up as our best self. It happens more automatically.
Okay.
And that's the beauty of this work, is it really goes to the depth of the unconscious mind. It's kind of like if you're taking a hike and you got a bunch of bricks in your backpack and you're wondering why the journey is so hard. Well, the unconscious content is really removing those bricks and really changing things from our past that are getting in the way of leading our best life and being able to move forward with our goals and vision more easily, more light, more joy in the process. But that all happens from being able to unpack what's going on for a person, and every person is unique. So the process is, basically in the first hour of a consultation, I'm really understanding who I'm talking to and their uniqueness and how they're putting their reality together. And then we start revising that. Then we start shifting things around through a lot of exercises and techniques that's part of the tool set.
All right, I have a couple questions for you, but I'm going to ask Marcey. So Marcey, how does this process, especially those first couple meetings, differ? You said you spent thousands of dollars on other programs, maybe some therapy. So you're sitting there and this light bulb goes off and you're not broken, and which I love that verbiage. So tell me, how does it differ from all the courses and things to sitting down with Michael and going, this is the conversation?
Yeah, that's it's interesting because, and I have spent time in different modalities, including therapy. And one thing I told Michael after a few sessions is it feels like, 10 years of therapy in 2 hours, because we're not just revisiting things in the past, but he actually has techniques that are in the book that help shift those. So to the point before, it's like, I don't even remember what it felt like to have all the pressure, stress, and frame of who I thought I was that I felt 5 years ago. It's like, I literally feel like that's been stripped away. And it's not something that you can just affirm your way out of or vision board your way out of. If you don't get in and change the mechanics of how your brain works and how you respond to things and understand that, and reset that, then you keep trying to kind of push down what's trying to come up to be healed.
Right.
And so it's really getting in at a very personal level. And that's why this book kind of, I always like feel like it's almost a journal. So the tools that Michael's created, with the basis in NLP, but also through all of the tools that he uses with clients, those are all in the book, like all that secret sauce is in the book. And so by kind of using different modalities, we're able to go in and really shift my perception on things in a way that's lasting and that in a way that's permanent. And so that's where it's really different, is it's not just, I think in the past I was looking and I would go to a workshop and feel great in the moment and great for the weekend. And I have all my notes. And then within a week or two, I'm back to my old habits and patterns because the insight hasn't shifted.
Right.
So that I think is the biggest difference for me.
Okay. So it sounds like you're saying that, what we normally do is we go somewhere. I always liken it to go to church. You go to church and you hear a great sermon and you feel uplifted and you feel more spiritual and connected. And then you go to work on Monday and your boss, and you're refraining from cussing your boss out.
Yeah,
you lose all that momentum. So you're creating momentum. So my question that I was holding on to for a quick second for Michael is that, I read an NLP book. It's probably behind me. I'm not my memory doesn't serve me to just rip it off. I'm sure it's a popular book, but in any event, when I read the book, I made some note cards. I took tons of notes, but my personal take on the book was to help me understand how to communicate better with people, to help them along the way. So I felt NLP, and I'm completely wrong, which is why I'm glad you're here to fix me. But I thought the NLP was for the person that was like the therapy person or the coaching person or so forth and so on, to help, the people that you're dealing with. But it sounds like to me, from listening to Marcey, that, and yourself, from what you were saying, is that you're actually you're teaching them the techniques for themselves. Is that accurate?
Partially.
Oh, good. So you're gonna clean me up for sure now. Okay.
NLP is a tool set that changes based on how each practitioner uses it. So if you imagine it as a neutral set of tools, powerful, but changing in the hands of each practitioner. Mm-hmm. And so I've chosen to use this tool set in a deeply transformative context, right? So someone could use it in sales, someone could use it in, like you said, in better communication with their clients, and that all comes into play. But where I'm using it mostly is to help people affect positive, lasting change. Excellent. And so that's really been my focus with the tool set. It's one of other tools that I use. I'm using energetics, body sensitivity from years of martial arts and meditation. I'm pretty empathic. So when I'm with people, I can sense where their energy is stuck and how to really help people break through and have a better experience. And then a lot of just understanding the mystical states we get into too, and how to guide people to their own center so they see themselves as the gold and the light and the brilliance that they are, and everyone has a different set of gifts in the world and a unique way of showing up in the world. And so we're really unlocking that for people. We're really using these tools to help people get to where they want to go and to do all that from the inside out.
Okay, so we're going to talk about the energies next. But before we talk about that, and thank you for clarifying that. So basically, you're saying that NLP can be used for the greater good if the user is open for the greater good.
Yeah, and someone could use it in the dark side too.
That's what I'm trying to. That's where I was.
Yeah, just like the Force in Star Wars.
Just like the Force in Star Wars. So thank you for that clarification. It helps me to understand a lot better. So before I ask you to really dive into the energies, because we're all vibrations, we're all frequency, and so before we get into that part, I want to make sure I understand, like, how does Reiki play into? Are you saying that you do Reiki? Is that what you're saying, or is it something different? And let me say it this way. Just like I made the comment about NLP, I'm making the same comment about Reiki. I had somebody do it on me once or twice. I am not prolific in the understanding of Reiki. So maybe you might want to explain it a little bit and then explain how, if it is what you're doing or how it's different than what you're doing.
Yeah, let me say a little bit, because Marcey is actually a Reiki master.
Do I need to put Marcey on?
Yeah, but in terms of, I'm not sure. I'm not versed well enough in Reiki to speak to your question, but I'm sure Marcey will be able to.
Okay.
But in terms of my approach to energy, it's really, when you do a lot of work, when you do a lot of meditation, when you do any body practice like yoga or martial arts or Tai Chi, what happens is your body starts to get more sensitive. You start to sense your own vital energy and how it flows in your body in a different way.
Okay.
And so it's developing a sense to notice that in yourself and to begin to be aware of how your own energy is operating.
So do you is the modality of tapping into the energy based on the person, like what they gravitate towards? Like, do they gravitate to martial arts or Tai Chi or meditation? Or do you have a recommendation of what people should tap into in a certain order of those modalities?
No, I don't. I say just it's useful to have a body practice of some sort. It's not required. Everyone's different. So people are going to gravitate towards different modalities and different approaches. I'm always trying to work within the framework of each person I'm working with. And so, if someone thinks martial arts is too woo-woo or too difficult and they have a reaction to it, then I'm not going to go there with them. Right? It's not useful for them. So I'm always trying to work within the framework of how someone is oriented in their world. And
okay. So what would you recommend to someone? I get people that are probably more traditional, and I didn't forget about the Reiki. Don't think I did, Marcey. They're more traditional, like Christianity, religion type thing. And they get kind of weirded out by meditation, and I'm telling people, hey, you need to meditate and you need to quiet yourself. And you're right, everybody can't do or is not the same. So if they don't want to do the martial arts and they're kind of weirded out by the meditation, what other options do they have?
Well, let's take the word meditation out of it and talk about sitting still and quiet.
Right.
Okay. And you could say it's a state of prayer, or
that's exactly what I tell them. I say, listen, have you ever prayed before? They go, oh yeah, I pray all the time. Then I say, okay, well, you ever sat quiet and listened for God to answer you? And they go,
there you go, 100%.
Yeah, not really. There you go.
It's really putting ourselves in that receptive state and just sitting quietly and still and really beginning to listen. And that's where the intuition comes through. It's in the quiet voice of God that comes through.
The still, small, quiet voice.
We're a fan of all religions or none. If someone's oriented in one religion, I was raised in a Christian context, Catholic.
Right.
And so that's kind of my base. But I've also studied a lot of Buddhism and I resonate with that. And so it just, if someone's Muslim, I'm going to speak as much as I can in Muslim terms.
Right.
And so it's really beginning to honor the individual and what is true for them.
Absolutely.
And
being connected to source.
Yeah. And Christ energy is really the love in our own heart. And it's in everyone. If we change the language, that's why I use I try to use these more neutral terms like love and source and things that don't, push people in one direction or another, but try to keep it in universal terms as much as possible.
Excellent. All right. So Marcey, you're up. So tell us about Reiki. Like, now I've had Reiki and they said, hey, have you had a traumatic relationship experience? Because you're blocked right here. And I said, I got divorced. I was really surprised. Like, wow, that was pretty, and I took it really hard. So in any event, this isn't about me. So tell us about Reiki. Tell us about how that affects the body, the energy and the practice and why it's good or not good for people, whatever. What's your thoughts?
So I like I said, in my quest to figure out what was missing, I was introduced to Reiki, and as Michael's talked about, this connection to love, this connection to source, this connection to this energy that feels larger than us, that feels pure and peaceful and beautiful. That's what I got out of Reiki training, and I haven't opened up a practice. I use it just personally in my own life. But my Reiki teacher, when people ask what's Reiki, she says it could be, just a Japanese stress reduction technique. It is really all pointing back to that place of quietness and stillness and shifting energy and getting support. It could be a place of prayer, and other people use it for healing. It's used in some hospitals now, and there's a lot of practitioners who have trained in Reiki. And because I'm so connected, when I did meditation with Reiki and went through training, I've just continued to expand my practice and use it just in my personal life. And so that's kind of the beauty of kind of what I've learned over the last 5.5 years is you really have to connect to what kind of, I call it ping, like what's kind of pinging you, what kind of resonates, what kind of helps support this experience where you're living and making choices in your daily life that bring this peace and spirit into not just, Sunday when I used to go to church. It's like, how can I live that throughout my week? And how can we call it like that mountaintop experience. And like you said, people may not resonate with Reiki or meditation, but I think most people have had that experience of peace and love, whether it's holding your child for the first time or falling in love or achieving something. It's like you feel like you're really connected and coming from like that everything seems right. And that's that mountaintop experience. But I said, hey, Michael, I got to live that in my day-to-day life. He's like, yeah, it's fine to have that mountaintop experience, but you have to go back to the village. And so we talk about that in the book. And that's really the purpose of this work in my life is how do I live that amazing retreat weekend space of love and connectiveness where life is easy and it flows. I want to live that in my daily life. And so Reiki for myself, and I have a yoga practice, and because I was really disconnected with body, and that's part 2 of the book. And so through those techniques of stillness and quiet, I was able to start doing my own work of uncovering what was unconsciously going on through those practices.
Excellent. So tell me, you mentioned another part of the book. So what are the parts of the book?
So part 1 is called Finding Answers. And this is really for the mind. It's really about the mind and getting through the labyrinth of our thought processes and understanding how we architect our reality from a mental place. And then in part 2, it's overcoming obstacles. And we're really talking about obstacles as experiences that get created at this unconscious level. And so it's really about the body and the physiology and the neurology and how all that operates to create our reality.
Okay.
And then in part 3, so that's all about self, part 1 and 2, and it's all about the journey of self. And so we bring people to that edge of self. And then in part 3, it's really about, the title is Living Your Purpose. And in order, this is where the book does a flip, because we're the inside guide and we're all about getting people to look internal for who they are. But once you know who you are, once you get to that source, the game changes. And it changes to now I have to bring it outside I have to go out into the world. And I really have to share my gift and my talent and my purpose and all this work of self. It's now time when we live our purpose to go back out into the world and be who we are out in the world and put our energy out.
Excellent.
So that's really the 3 phases of the book.
Well, there's a cover of the book, The Inside Guide. I mean, I am going to get a copy and read it. I was planning on doing it before this interview, but I'm even more inspired because I really want to know more about the intuitive wisdom. That's what I personally want to get into. I'm inspired. I'm on my journey. I'm doing really good work, I believe, but that intuitive wisdom is where I really want to expand my journey, my presence, my gift to the world. Is that in part 3? What part is that in?
That's a lot of part 3, where we talk about, Marcey mentioned the metaphor of the journey to the mountaintop, and that's where we go to have our spiritual experience. We kind of remove ourselves from our everyday life, and then the return to the village is bringing that awareness and that enlightenment back into our everyday life. And so that's where we're living that purpose. And it means in how we're returning to the village, how we're listening, how we're being guided, that the guide is within you, right? And everything you're looking for in terms of that intuitive wisdom is a listening process. And what happens is, as you start to get more quiet and still, and you honor that space of spirit within yourself, is you start to get messages. You start to have, everyone's had them, synchronicities, coincidences,
right?
Providence, serendipity, these kind of things that like we can't make happen. We can pray for them and we can be open to them, but at that level, we can't force them or make them happen. Excellent. And so the intuitive wisdom is really the receptivity. It's the listening process. It's the willingness to be guided and to understand that source within us is going to start to guide. Once we go there and we honor that place, we start to go on a path, and things start to happen more magically. They start to unfold in a really beautiful way.
I love the magic. I love that. Well, I want to thank you both for sharing your valuable time and your experience and your wisdom. I want to encourage everybody to check out www.loveguides.us. And I said US, I'm thinking like US, United States. No, us. It's us. But no, it's like God love guides us. And, not only get the book, but I really think that you might want to have a conversation. These two are dynamic, and they have a very good track in over 20 plus years. So Michael's like myself. I don't say 3 decades. I got over 20 years of experience and expertise. And, I really am excited about you talking to Michael about making the transition. He retooled his life in order to do the work that he's doing. And by his own admission, he is happier than ever. So again, thank you, Marcey. Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
And I appreciate your time and sharing with our 24K Life community. All right, you heard it. You heard it. You heard it. Listen, if you're not on your journey, or if you're on your journey and you're feeling a little stuck, you're feeling like you're just not making that progress, you know what? People like Michael and Marcey are here not only to deliver the information in Love Guides Us, right? Or Inside Job, Inside Guide, I apologize. They're here so you can talk to them as well, so that you can reach out and have a conversation. The beauty of the silver lining, the beauty of like things, unfortunately, like the pandemic, is that you're no longer afraid to jump on a Zoom call. You're not afraid to jump on a video conference call and look someone in the eye and have them help you elevate, because that's what they're here for. They're here to help you elevate, to help me elevate. And I'm here to make sure that you continually get access to amazing people like Michael and Marcey. I'm Derick Gant. I want you to be your best, bring your best, leave nothing to chance.